Everybody, and welcome back. Brady Lair here with you, bringing another Tying Tuesday to you from AvidMax. Hope you're all doing well out there. Right now in the Rockies, it's runoff, and so we're focused on stillwater a little bit here. This is a chironomid pattern that I've been keeping somewhat close to the chest for a long time, but wanted to share with you all. So this is the Hot Chocolate. It's a nice little chironomid pattern. Shout out to Kyle for helping out with the name on that. It's a cool little fly that I kind of took inspiration from the Chocolate Thunder, and then really just looking at chironomid images online, this is kind of what I came up with. A lot of chironomids I think are more tractor style patterns than anything, and I was looking for something a little more realistic. This is what I came up with. So we're starting it out on the Tiemco 2302 hook. Nice curved hook here, long shank. This is the size 14, my favorite size for this. I do 10s, 12s, 16s in this as well. And then the thread we're using today is just some Veevus, 14-aught in gray. And we're gonna take a nice smooth thread base back. Doesn't have to be perfect right now, but we wanna keep it smooth. And I'll walk past the barb there, and we're gonna tie in a little bit of Antron. And so I got my Antron on the spool here. I'm actually just gonna split that in half. And we're only going to tie in half of this on the rear end. So we'll get a small amount there. And I like to keep it just about that full length of the shank because I don't want a big bump of material on the back end. So I'll actually tie this all the way forward and just leaving myself a small amount out the back. We'll come over top and capture that in place. Spin the thread a little more. There she goes. Get a locking wrap or two down on that, and then we can come forward again with just smooth wraps over top, keeping that material somewhat uniform and assisting with a nice smooth taper. Chironomids are so slender and long, and we want to make sure that we're staying consistent with that. We can take it up to where that thorax region is going to be. And then capture out our excess material, and then we'll walk back on it and trim out the ones that I got trapped in there kind of funny. Cover that up and then transition on back, and this is where I'm going to be a little more conscious of these thread wraps again. We'll get a nice covering on it all. And then I'm not quite done with the tail yet. What I like to do, you could leave it and just kind of trim it short, but on this fly I like to actually split it. So if you look at a picture of a chironomid, it does have sort of a split tail, and if you don't do this, then fish aren't going to believe that it's a chironomid. Probably a little more anal than it needs to be, but I kind of come down and under and then just try to split it with my thread, and you can come up and through it. And then give one wrap forward, and then if you go back down over the top and sort of secure that the same way, it'll fork your tail for you a little bit. And then I always do come in and clip it pretty short still. So we got just a nice little forked Antron tail. Not really even on this, but I'm not gonna bother too much. So from there, I'm gonna add in the ribbing. And I really like this mahogany brown micro tubing for this. Just a nice color combination. And again, I'm gonna run it the full length of the body just for nice consistency of thickness. Having a hard time grabbing things today. There we go. We'll keep that sort of positioned on the side, and then we can do touching thread wraps over top of it forward. You could always walk forward and then back on this material, but I try to save that extra layer of thread by coming just up from the back with it. It makes it a little more tricky. Just like that Antron, you gotta sort of manipulate it as you go forward to keep it in place. Anybody out there has an easier way to do this, let us know in the comments. And same positioning as we did with the Antron. We'll land it up where that thorax is going to begin, and then we can stretch it real tight and pull it out. And then we'll just half hitch in that position and bring it on up. So I like to stretch it nice and tight, getting it to lay pretty flat on this body as we go. And then we'll take just open wraps forward until we reach that point where our thread's hanging out for us. So one more good wrap on it, like so. And we'll go up and over, capture it, some locking wraps down, and then trim it out. At this point, don't pull too tight, just tight enough to get it somewhat clean there. Wrap over it as well. And now we're gonna go into our body. Now we're gonna go into the foam. And for the foam, I'm using some white razor foam. This is sort of the inspiration from, again, the Chocolate Thunder Cheeseman Canyon Emerger, if you know it, just kind of that emerging foam head. We'll take the 1mm foam. The razor foam comes with a 0.5 and a 1. And so for this, I want the 1mm, and I'm gonna trim myself just a nice strip of it, which I already have here, so give you an idea of that. And we will tie that in, facing forward out the front so that a little bit of it will protrude past the eye. And we can walk over top of it and secure it in. You don't want to bite down too hard on this material. It is a fairly brittle and easy to cut through with thread. Just be aware of that as you're using it. And then walk back that full length of the thorax, and now we're going to tie in sort of the backing to this. Before I do that, I'm going to make a nice thread base though, so let me finish that, clean that up a little bit for underneath. Build a little bit of a head, separating the abdomen from the thorax. Then I'm going to add in the pheasant tail. So I got a little bit of pheasant tail here. This is just the backing for the fly. Sort of builds out that thorax region, kind of the head of the bug. We'll pull off about 10 strands there or so. And I tie it in from the tip end, but I do clip it back a little ways. And right on top, capture it. Try that again. There we are. Make sure it's an appropriate distance for your thorax. Usually it's around 1/3 of the overall hook when I'm doing these chironomids. So we'll give ourselves room there and then cover it all up going forward. This helps build up that bulkier thorax region again. Smooth it all out. Right behind the foam there. We're going to pull that pheasant tail over the top, capture it down just like you would a pheasant-tailed nymph. A couple of wraps on it, one in front, and then I'm going to pull the foam and everything back and sneak right under there behind the eye. And come in and trim out the extra pheasant tail that we don't need there, and then give this little fly a nice whip finish. So it's been an awesome little bug for me. I've fished this for a while now, and like I said, just kind of kept it somewhat quiet. But I feel like it's time for everybody else to see the joys of the poppin' chironomid. about our thread. And we are ready to fish. Great little fly. It's fun to fish. Hang it under an indicator, fish it with a leech. You can fish it with other chironomids as well, maybe like an ice cream cone or something copper to kind of pull them in. This one I find just tends to be a little bit more realistic overall again, or kind of matching to that realistic pupating chironomid. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Give this one a try for yourself and get into some of those big stillwater trout. Enjoy.